So, how to protect your digital life? Now, my name is Edem Gold. Like I've already said, I'm a machine learning engineer and a content creator. I am from Nigeria, and I especially love turning complex facts into stories on my blog. Now, what is your digital life? Digital life encompasses the way we interact on Facebook. It's we send out the type of people we follow, the pictures we post on Instagram, and so on. In simple terms, digital life is simply the sum total of how we relate when we are on the internet. So basically, you know how you have your physical life? Your physical life is basically made up of the interactions you've had. Like, let's say, when you wake up in the morning, the people you live with, you share your apartment with people. So basically, the people you live with, once you go out of the day, you step out, the people you interact outside, that is your physical life. Like the sum total of interactions you have physically, daily, that is your physical life. Then we have stuff like your digital life is basically the same thing with your physical life, but rather than people, physical people, cars, doors, you have apps. You interact with people online. So how you interact with these people, the type of tweets, like on Twitter, you tweet, the type of tweets you tweet out, the type of posts you like, the type of should we say, the kind of photos you love on or you react to on Instagram, on Facebook, those sort of things, those are the things that make up your digital life. Now, like we said, it's just like your physical life, but instead of buildings, roads, cars, and police officers, you have websites, bots, and software. So it's basically just like your physical life, but it's digital. So basically, your digital life is how your life, but on the internet. So it's separate from your physical life, but it's basically alive in the same way. So I want to talk about the metaverse. So I feel for you to actually understand your digital life, you have to first understand the extension, like the future of your digital life. Now, you see, the internet as we have it doesn't really embody communication as fully as it should. Like on the internet, when you actually, like statistically, 20% of total communications are made up of only words. Like if I come face to face with you, our communication, like the embodiment, our entire communication is just going to be made up of the words we speak. 20% of it is going to be made up of the words we speak. The remaining 80 is made up of things like the type of clothes you wear, the type of dress you're putting on, your face reaction, if you're smiling, you're laughing. So all those things add to human interaction. Those are the things. So it's some total of the dresses you wear, the person's eyes, how the person's mouth is kept, if the person is smiling, then the sort of words, then the tone of the person's voice. Those things are what make up human interaction and conversation. So that is what makes up your physical life, those interactions. But then the digital life doesn't completely embody that. You get it? It doesn't really embody that because of, well, we only chat. Once you chat, you're only talking. You don't actually know the tone of voice. You don't get the same things you get in the physical life. So I feel the world is actually moving to a stage where they are trying to make your physical life, your digital life, they're trying to make your digital life more like your physical life. So I feel I won't actually say more words. I'm going to actually give a friend of mine, well, not really a friend, just someone I really like, Mark Zuckerberg, who actually explain this, I feel, a lot more better. So let's see.
Today, we're going to talk about the metaverse. I want to share what we imagine is possible. The experiences you'll have, the creative economy we'll all build, and the technology that needs to be invented, as well as how we're going to all do this together. Will be even more immersive.
It's like a shop.
Some call it skill.
Keep talking.
And in that, we're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse. Everything we do online today, connecting socially, entertainment, games, work, it's getting more natural and vivid. Look, access their credit to the mobile internet. You're going to have to do almost anything you can imagine. All right, perfect. Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see what's up with my stuff. Okay, so my internet actually is messing up right now. So basically, you've seen it. So the internet actually is getting to that stage where it actually embodies everything. So now we actually get there. Work now. Okay, so it's working better now. The metaverse is a stage in the internet, like the next stage of the internet. A lot of people call it Web3. So it's the next stage of the internet where communication is actually more embodied. So your physical life is becoming very much like your digital life. So they are going to be very alike. But now, I mean, physically, in our physical life, we actually have things like padlocks. I mean, no one actually leaves their houses open. When you actually wake up in the morning, you have passwords on your phones. Our ATM cards have pins. We have these little things to protect ourselves physically. But at the stage and rate the internet is going, I mean, you just watch that video, you could literally see someone attending a concert virtually. So technology is getting to that point in time where we actually are going to actually, like, the internet is going to be more interactive. Like, we're going to actually behave digitally the same way we behave physically, because the boundary between our physical life and our digital life is becoming, the boundary is becoming unclear. Like, we can literally do anything, the things we do physically, we can literally do them digitally. So basically, now you protect yourself physically. Your cars have locks, your doors have keys, your offices have passcodes, your laptops have passwords, and basically everything has a password. We naturally, we don't like people interacting with our personal stuff. So physically, you protect yourself well enough, but what about digitally? I mean, at that point in time where the internet actually becomes more interactive, where it becomes very interactive, like our physical life is, how are you going to protect yourself? Like, how are you going to protect your digital life? So basically, the same way you protect yourself physically, you also have to protect yourself digitally. So that comes to the crux of our conversation: how to protect your digital life. And that is what I'm going to be talking about: how you can protect yourself digitally the same way you do physically. Okay, so now in your physical life, you have a trail of activities. Oh boy, this is not good. Sorry, this is wrong. Okay, so in your physical life, you have a trail of activities which you have to do at a particular time. When you wake up in the morning, you have plans, schedules, timetables, etc. These are like breadcrumbs which talk all about you. In your digital life, you also have these breadcrumbs, but instead of schedules, plans, etc., we call them data. So basically, in your physical life, you have plans. Like, literally, no one just wakes up in the morning and just goes and takes life as it comes. Like, those sort of people never achieve anything meaningful. So in your physical life, the same way you have plans and schedules, and literally, so imagine if someone actually gets a hold of your Google Calendar, like they know where you're going to be at a particular point in time. Literally, they control your life. Like, they can manipulate you at any point in time. So that's the same way it is digitally. So as you go through your day physically, you leave trails. Like, if someone watches you, they know, like, okay, he wakes up in the morning, he does this, he does that. So literally, you leave trails. But also digitally, on the internet, you also leave trails. But these things aren't like schedules or plans the same way you have them physically. They are your data. Like, data, and I mean data like the type of websites you interact with. Like on Facebook, your data can be anything from the type of posts you click, the type of messages or posts you put up, the type of pictures you put in, the sort of people you talk to, the sort of messages, the sort of languages you use, the sort of pictures you react to. So that is your data. Now, the same way when people actually get a hold of your personal stuff physically, then they can also control you. That's the same way, if they actually get hold of your personal stuff digitally, they can actually control you. So now I'm going to actually show you a tool. So you have padlocks physically. So I'm going to actually give you a padlock, let's say figuratively, a padlock to protect your digital life the same way you protect your physical life. So now introducing your savior, MobSF. MobSF is an open source penetration testing framework built to help people check the apps they use and see if those apps make use of their data. Basically, it's software that helps you test your apps and see how they work. So MobSF is an open source penetration testing framework. So MobSF is open sourced. So what MobSF does is, you know those apps you make use of like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, a lot of them, they actually are the people, like the gateways, who actually hold your interaction. Like they're like the ways people actually access the internet are through these apps. Now, these apps, if anyone is actually going to make use of your data or track your data, it's these guys. So now, physically, you know when somebody actually wants to like get rid of you through passwords, you protect yourself. Now, you have to also protect yourself digitally from these apps. Not only these apps, a lot of malicious people with malicious intent. So that's where MobSF comes in. MobSF helps you look at these apps, see if they actually take your data physically. MobSF analyzes these apps, processes, goes through them. Sorry for the background noise. MobSF actually goes through these apps and sees if they actually make use of your data, and then tells you, so you can actually take preventive measures, and it provides this for you. So MobSF is an open source penetration testing framework. Now, for you to actually fully understand MobSF, I feel you have to understand open source. So open source refers to publicly available source code, where every entity with the know-how can modify, delete, add, or change. Even you, that's from Micah Sido, a close friend of mine. So in simple words, open source is simply an event whereby computer programmers work and together produce software, and anyone with the necessary skills can then contribute to the software. A lot of the software and programming languages these days are free and open source, like the Python programming language, which is responsible for most of the AI available. Okay, so open source, basically, you see, I'm going to actually like go through. Open source is a community of programmers who come together and contribute code to projects and improve these projects together. So if you're actually familiar with human history, you'd know that humans at the onset of time are the cavemen and the rest of them, generational humans, the first sort of humans, were actually the lowest people on the food chain, you see. But as they came together, like, we didn't have the same claws that lions did. We didn't have thick fur like bears or mammoths. We didn't have good eyesight. I mean, basically, we were just tall people who luckily walk on two legs. But when humans were actually able to come together and work together, found a way to communicate, they formed a special sort of strength, a super mind, if you will. So they came together and worked together. Then that teamwork, which we all know as community, that was when the term community was formed. So when they actually came together, that teamwork was what led to humans being like the big dogs in the world. So we ended up controlling everything. So that was it, basically. So communities are a core concept of humanity. Like, literally, humanity wouldn't exist without community. So open source, we have a lot of communities these days. Like, literally everything can be a community. Companies can be communities. Houses, families, communities. People you live around, communities. Even Starbucks or a restaurant, the workers in that restaurant are a community because they coexist and work together with a common goal to actually serve you and stuff like that. So open source is a community of programmers who come together to provide code to projects and help improve those projects. You get it? So a lot of the software and code, I bet you every single app you use actually makes use of open source software. Like Instagram, for example, a major library used in building Instagram was Django, and Django is a Python library. So it was built on Python, and Python is actually open sourced. You get it? So basically that is open source. So MobSF is an open source framework. So MobSF was actually created by people to help people protect themselves. So you get it. So it wasn't created by some huge company who actually wants to get money from you, stuff like that. So I'm going to also use this chance to introduce Aviyel. Aviyel is the company behind this entire talk show. So Aviyel is a company which helps monetize and provide documentation for open source projects. Let's go to Aviyel website. Okay, now what is Aviyel? So I'll share this link to you guys there, so you can actually check out Aviyel yourself when you want to. Chat. Okay, so Aviyel is a community-driven monetization platform for open source projects. So basically, Aviyel is a company. You see, open source projects are run by people, and these people actually, open source projects are free. Let's take it lightly. Open source projects are free, and then, but the people who actually maintain these projects, hopefully, like a lot of people contribute code to these projects given, but there are a group of people who actually maintain them. And for you to actually run efficiently an open source projects, you need things like server space, hosting, little costs. So what Aviyel does, Aviyel provides money for these guys. They monetize these projects. So they provide money for these open source projects to actually efficiently maintain themselves and also provide documentation. So they have a couple of content writers. They get content writers like which I am among. They get content writers to actually write information and documentation on these projects. You get it? So they actually provide information on these projects for the open source project. So basically, MobSF is under the umbrella of Aviyel. So let's continue. So now we're into MobSF. Now, as I told you, MobSF analyzes the source code of apps itself. You get it? MobSF actually analyzes the source code of apps and tells you if they're actually a threat to you digitally, if they actually take your data and actually make use of it, or I harm to you at any point in time. Now, there are two forms of MobSF analysis. There are two ways MobSF actually analyzes apps. There are two ways: static analysis and dynamic analysis. Okay, so I'm going to explain them. Dynamic analysis is a mobile application security solution which helps find certain vulnerabilities in mobile applications as they are in production. It is basically analysis of mobile applications as they are being used by users. So you see, dynamic analysis is analysis by MobSF. So when you actually make use of dynamic analysis on MobSF, you are actually analyzing those apps as you are making use of them. Like, let's take for instance Instagram. You want to analyze Instagram. You want to test Instagram to see where Instagram actually let's say manipulates you. Let's say that way. I feel manipulate is actually a strong word, but let's use that. So actually like tries to take advantage of you. So dynamic analysis is a form of analysis where as you're using Instagram, you can actually analyze Instagram, check out Instagram itself, if it actually harms you in any way or at any point in time. So that's dynamic analysis. Analysis of mobile applications as they are being used by users. Static analysis is the second form of analysis being used by which is possible on MobSF. So static analysis is a mobile application testing methodology in which the source code of the mobile application is analyzed to find vulnerabilities which will make the application susceptible to malicious attack. In simple words, it is the use of penetration testing tools to analyze the source code of mobile applications to find out vulnerabilities. So remember, dynamic analysis is the act of testing your mobile applications as you are using them. But static analysis is analyzing the source code, the APK of apps. So you see, for our non-technical listeners, APK, like every app has an APK. So an APK is like, to figuratively explain it, an APK is like an app is like a tree. Imagine an app like a tree. The APK is the seed. So apps grow out of APK. So let's say, for instance, how Google Play Store actually helps you install apps. Google Play Store, once developers put their apps up on Play Store. And you should bear in mind, this is a disclaimer. I am not an app developer. I am just using, let's take for instance, knowledge, industry knowledge to actually explain it intuitively. So they actually put up the APK of the app. So what Play Store does, once you want to install, it downloads a copy of the APK into your phone, then installs it for you. You get it? So what static analysis does, it analyzes the APK. So it analyzes the source code of those applications and sees if they are actually harmful to you at any point in time. Okay. So now, like I said, in simple words, it is the use of penetration testing tools to analyze the source code of mobile applications to find out vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's static analysis. Okay, so now I think we are actually going to perform static analysis on a couple of apps itself. Okay, so this is the MobSF documentation. I'm going to share the link there. That's there. Okay, so that's the link there. Oh, my screen is dark. Sorry. If my screen is dark, I actually apologize because rain is about to fall here, so no natural light. Okay, so like I said earlier, MobSF's Mobile Security Framework is an automated all-in-one mobile application pen testing, malware analysis, and security assessment framework capable of performing static and dynamic analysis. Now, remember when I told you like every open source is basically free, so anyone can actually contribute to it, but there are maintainers, people who actually maintain these projects. Now, the maintainers of MobSF are these guys: Ajin Ibrahim, Magofe, Matan Doboshin, Vincent Adam. So once you can actually click the link there, you actually get it. So basically that's it. So now we have the requirements. So since we're actually going to run MobSF, we're actually going to, so for you to run MobSF, remember I told you there are two forms of analysis available on MobSF: static analysis and dynamic analysis. So for you to actually dynamically and static analysis, to perform static analysis using MobSF, these are the requirements, and the requirements are based on your operating system. We have three major operating systems for desktops or laptops. There are Macs, the MacBook, Linux, Linux distros, and Windows. So this is for Mac, and this is for Ubuntu, Linux, and then this is for Windows. So I use Windows, so we're going to try and make use of the Windows. So first of all, you have to install JIT. JIT is a tool which actually helps code collaboration. So it's the basic tool which helps open source. So basically, JIT is a huge cornerstone of open source. Then Python, the programming language which MobSF was built on, JDK, Microsoft, OpenSSL, this word cannot be pronounced, wiki instructions, and blah, blah, blah. So this is for static analysis. Now, if you want to perform dynamic analysis, these are the requirements. So this is this, but since we're not actually going to do that, you can check that out on your own spare time if you want to at any point in time perform dynamic analysis. So now let's say installation. So remember I told you installation and requirements actually depend on your operating system. So if you're using a Linux distro or a Mac OS, this is actually your requirements. Then if you're using a Windows like I am, these are your requirements. So we're going to actually make use of this, then also test out apps itself. So basically this is it. So I'm going to fire up my terminal. Okay. Okay, well, that is actually loading. Okay, it's done. So let me set this up before I move on. So okay. So first of all, git clone. We are going to have to clone the MobSF repository. So this is it. So while we are cloning that, let's take you to this article. So if at any point in time you actually want a full analysis of all I have written here, all I have spoken about here, you can go through this article. This article is actually a well-documented view on how to protect yourself digitally using MobSF. So I'll share the link of that here. Okay. Oh, the link is wrong and cut off. Let me share that. Where is it? Okay, this is better. Okay, so that's the link right there. Oh shit, my internet is terrible. Okay, I think at least you guys can hear me, hopefully. So this is installing. It's still receiving objects. So basically, this is the article. You can go through this. So what do you understand by digital? This explains digital life. So it says smartphones have penetrated almost every aspect of our lives. We buy groceries. So digital life can also encompass the way we interact on Facebook, the tweets we send, the type of people we follow, the people we follow, the pictures we post on Instagram, and so on. These social media applications are pretty robust when it comes to security. However, they also come under attack and can lead to cyber theft. Okay, so it's obviously going to take a while before I can actually perform static analysis on this. So these are the apps I'm actually going to perform static analysis of. I'm going to perform static analysis on Instagram itself, since basically everyone uses Instagram. But due to time constraints, I'm going to actually upload the results of this analysis later on Aviyel, since we actually all have all your emails, so we can actually share that with you. So let's recap. So, from what I said, my name is Edem Gold. I'm a machine learning engineer and a content creator. I'm from Nigeria, and I love turning complex facts into stories. Okay, so digital life encompasses the way we interact on Facebook, the tweets we send out, the type of people we follow, the people we follow, the pictures we post on Instagram, and so on. In simple terms, our digital life is simply the sum total of how we relate when we are on the internet. It's just like physical life, but instead of buildings, roads, cars, and police officers, you have websites, bots, and software. So basically, your digital life is your life on the internet. It is the sum total of the interactions you make on the internet. Then we spoke about the metaverse. I showed you a Mark Zuckerberg video. So I think after this, I'm going to actually share the full. That video was just an excerpt of the Meta. Facebook just changed their name to Meta. So the convention, they spoke at the con convention. So that was actually an excerpt from the entire thing. So I'll share the entire video link to you if you want to watch it to your own spare time. So your digital life is at risk. In your physical life, you have a trail of activities which you have to do at a particular time. When you wake up in the morning, you have plans, schedules, timetables, etc. These are like breadcrumbs which talk all about you. In your digital life, you also have these breadcrumbs, but instead of schedules, plans, etc., we call them data. So basically, the same way you have trails which actually lead you throughout your physical life, you also have things like data which actually leads you throughout your digital life. So basically, that's it. So your digital life is made up of trails, but they are called data. Now, I'm introducing MobSF. MobSF is an open source penetration testing framework built to help people check the apps they use and see if those apps make use of their data. Basically, it's software that helps you test your apps and see how they work. So MobSF is a penetration testing framework which actually helps you test out. MobSF actually helps you test out the code or your source code or the code or the source code, or let's just say overall helps you test out apps, social apps, to see if they actually make use of your data. So now, open source is a huge cornerstone because MobSF is open source. So I think we explained open source exhaustively. In simple words, open source is an event, is a community whereby computer programmers work together and produce software, and anyone with the necessary skills can then contribute to that software. So basically, open source is a community of programmers who come together and work on software and help improve it. So I've spoken about Aviyel, they're the sponsors of this video, and they are also responsible for monetization of software. Monetization of open source projects, slip of the tongue. So Aviyel helped provide money to maintainers of open source projects and also provides documentation for those projects through their large bank of content creators. So there are two types of MobSF analysis. These are static analysis and dynamic analysis. Now, when MobSF actually performs analysis on applications, there are two ways, either static or dynamically. Okay, so dynamic analysis is a mobile application security solution which helps find certain vulnerabilities in mobile applications as they are in production. It is basically analysis of mobile applications as they are being used by users. So basically, dynamic analysis is the act of testing your application as you are using it. So let's take, for instance, you actually want to test out Instagram. You use dynamic analysis if you want to test out Instagram as you are using Instagram. Okay? So static analysis is a mobile application testing methodology in which the source code of the mobile application is analyzed to find vulnerabilities which will make the application susceptible to malicious attack. In simple words, it is the use of penetration testing tools to analyze the source code of mobile applications to find out vulnerabilities. So basically, static analysis is the analysis of mobile applications, the APK of mobile applications. So, mobile applications actually are like trees. I used the pseudonym trees. So APKs are like the core, the kernels, the core, the seed of mobile applications. So static analysis analyzes that core APK and provides you with actually the core analysis. So now we've come to the end of this talk. So to end I'll leave you with this. The digital life is very important and you should protect it at every point, and by all means necessary. Thank you.